Hello and welcome to lecture 22 in our series of the amazing power of Gematria. The lecture topic today is on the connection between English and Hebrew. A few lectures ago I showed you a connection within the word Daniel, the prophet or man Daniel, the biblical figure in the Bible, and Hebrew and English. I'll just repeat that again here and we'll elucidate a little bit more on it. Daniel in Hebrew is written Daled, Nun, Yud, Aleph, Lamed. And if we read it in Hebrew backwards from the Lamed to the Nun, I write those letters out now in that order: Lamed, Aleph, Yud, Nun. And I put a final Nun because it's the last letter. And then we'll read it forward in the Hebrew way: Daled, Nun. And they read out Lion, Den. Remember the vowels are not there in the Hebrew actually in the text. We say that Daniel. Dani means my judge is God. My judge is God. But if we read it this way, we can see that there's a hidden two words, lion, or we can write it as lion, den. And you know the story of Daniel, who was cast into the lion's den, and he lived. So it's the key, or the highlight of his life by most people is this miracle that takes place with Daniel and the lion den. Perhaps there's something more connected here, lion den. One wonders what the word oh dear, I'm writing Hebrew. Getting carried away here. Let's write it over here. London, London, lion den. What is the lion den? The den is the dwelling place of the Lion of Judah. So London has been named as possibly, I have no historical evidence for this, but it seems an interesting connection that the name London might originate from this idea that this is the New Jerusalem, as some people have called it. London, the city of London, becomes the New Jerusalem. St. Paul's Cathedral and many other cathedrals in London and churches have this sort of symbolism towards this city of London being the New Jerusalem. But that's not a topic which I'm going to discuss here. So we see that hidden in Daniel is this Hebrew and English. And we have to read this in the English direction, and we've got this in the Hebrew direction. So if you look at the very last chapter, the very end of Daniel, and this is how I discovered this, I was reading the very end of Daniel, and it says, very last verse, "But go you your way till the end be, for you shall rest and stand in your lot at the end of days." I've translated the Old English into modern English. But go you your way till the end be. They put B in italics. The Hebrew is va'ata, and you, lech, go, laket, to the end. Go to the end. Okay? So you go to the end. So I read that and I said, well, let's go to the end of Daniel. So I went to the end of Daniel. I thought, well, let's look at this and read it backwards. I don't know why. Just did. That's how my brain works. Go backwards. So I read lion. I thought, oh, well, we've got lion and you've got den. So we've got the English encoded within the Hebrew, and it's connected with the end of days. And so I say that the English language is the final revelation. It is the revelation of which God has given us, so the message as to what's going to happen, as to who the messianic figure is, as to whether there is or there isn't a God, and many other aspects, why there are crop circles. They are all encoded in the English language, and they all show deep a deep message and an impossibility that the human being could be behind all this. At some stage in the future I will talk about Illuminati and the idea that there are these so-called elite people ruling the earth and governing the earth. I am not an Illuminati. I have nothing to do with them, and I'm not a Freemasonic, and I'm not part of any organisation like that whatsoever. This is purely my own discovery and my own research. And I was once in Stratford and giving out some leaflets before the Olympic Games in London and Stratford, and on my leaflet had my well sign. So I had this is an orange version of it, which is a W, another W, which spells out. Whoops, not very good at doing this. W, and I put a 0 in the middle because that's wow, and that's what I called my publishing house as Wow Discoveries. So W-O-W. If you add up W and W, it's 23, and then you've got 15 for O. This is placement value. You get 20, 30, 40, 50, 61, and a miracle is also 61, 13, 22, 32, 40, 44, 54, 55, 56, 5 and 61. So wow, when you see a miracle you say wow. So wow means wonder of miracles, wonder of wonders, a miracle, a song from Fiddle on the Roof for those who want to know how it originated. Wonder of wonders, a miracle. So that was how it came through. The story about Daniel and the Lion Den is in this CD. It's a PowerPoint presentation. It's called Daniel, the Time of the End, and I go through the calculation there and significance of the name Daniel, and what this rock is that comes out and destroys the statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the golden head, the silver torso, etc., and a stone comes out and smashes into the feet and destroys the whole lot. What is this unhewn statue? That's in that CD, and in this CD is the English-Hebrew connection, which I'm going to give some examples of now. Okay, so we have this interesting connection, end of day sort of connection of the English language and the Hebrew language, and I'm going to show a few examples how the Hebrew and English do go together, sort of hand in hand. So it's getting harder and harder to clean this board for some reason. I mean, clean the book cleaner. So I've given you a few examples in the past in my lectures. You can go back on them, and you would have noticed, for example, G-O-D. I'm not doing the O. G-O-D is 7 plus 15 plus 4, which was 26. And in Hebrew we have the Hebrew name Yud, Hey, Vov, Hey, and that was 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 10 was 26. If you take Allah, which is the Islamic term in the Quran used for God, I've spelled it incorrectly there though, but in that form, in the phonetical form, Allah is 26. If I put the H at the end, which is the normal way of spelling Allah, it's 34, and 1 equals 34. And the Muslims are very adamant when they talk about Allah, that Allah is 1, and you see that within the Gematria. A lot of people say, oh, Allah is the moon god, and the Jews pray to Satan, the planet Satan, and the Christians have the sun. This is all a symbolism gone out of haywire, a load of rubbish. They're praying to God, the Creator, and that's very clear from the Bible. It's very clear from the prayer books, and any of the prayer books of Christian and Islam or Judaism. You'll find that all of them pray to God, and what matter does the name God? The name was used. A God with G-O-D can be spelled G-O-D as a small g, can mean heathen gods, it can mean idols, and it can also mean that. So Allah can have different versions of it. And the fact that in Daniel we saw the Aleph and the Lamed was also a name of God. Aleph Lamed is El. It was used for the name of God for idols as well in ancient Israel times. And Aleph Lamed is just like God. It can be used to mean to heathen gods. It can be used to refer to God the Creator. The word Elohim can mean gods with a small g, and that's used like that. Elohim Achirim in Hebrew in the Ten Commandments, other gods, idols and things like that. Or it can mean the Creator God, as it says in the beginning. God created the heavens and the earth. Bereshit bara Elohim et shamayim v'ha'aretz, and they use the word Elohim. So to come and say, oh, that name means that Muslims worship the moon and Jews worship Satan and things like that is complete distortion of what these words really mean. So let's go on. So next word, again, I'm going to show you that we have seen in the past. We have had king, 41 in the placement value, and Hamelech. Hamelech is the king in Hebrew, is 41, and that's the comes in a few places. I think we had another example. I haven't written it down here about the, maybe we have on another page, but we'll see. But we have, oh yes, it was tree, I have written it down. Tree, we had this thing when last lecture on 666, is 48, placement value. And ha'etz, the tree in Hebrew, is 48, and that's using the alternative placement value where the final tzadi takes on the value 27 at the end of the alphabet. Some other connections. So we have Israel. Israel is 64. So is Zion, 64. Zion also represents Israel. And you have in Hebrew Yisrael, and that equals 64. Okay? All in placement values. Okay, and they're using the same systems in both Hebrew and in English. Now we come to where we use different systems. In Hebrew, the word sod is 70, and that's in the normal value, where samach is 60, vav is 6, daled is 4, is 70. Sod means secret, and you write secret and you work out its placement value, where s is 19, e is 5, you'll get 70, and that's in the PV, the placement value, and that's in the normal value. So we have a correlation, but with different systems. If we take the word truth, and this is another one we've had in the past. Truth has the large value of 477. That's in the large value. In Hebrew, the word for truth is emet. Emet has the normal value is 441. That's the normal value. Taf is 400, mem is 40, aleph is 1, 441, so I can't write, 441. It has a placement value of 36, that's 22 plus 13 is 35, plus 1 is 36. It's the placement value. If I add those together, I get 477, and that will be the total value, the TV total value, because I've added the normal value plus the placement value, and that gives me the total value. So another correlation there. We can take the word kedusha or kadosh, holy, which we've had as well. Holy is 350 for the large value, and it has a placement value of 60. Add those together gives me 410. That will be the whole value, what I call the whole value, large value plus placement value. And in Hebrew, kadosh, holy is kadosh. Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. So that is kadosh, and that is 100 plus 300 is 400. 4 and 6 is 10, is 410 in the normal value. So we're weaving around a little bit different systems, but they are energy related, vibrationally related, and they're connected because they have the same value, which shows they have the same energy or vibrational level. A few more. We've had in the past when I talked about the tefillin, the knot of the tefillin, of the phylacteries they call them in English, the boxes that Jewish male wear in the morning. So we have the word holy. Yes, we do have the word holy, because we'll come back to the holy. We have the word not. So not is 60 is the placement value, and kesher is the Hebrew for knots. 19, 21 and 20 is 60. That's back into the placement value. So and when I said holy was also 60, we had it just before, it was 60. That knot is considered to be a very holy knot. You'll find that some Jews, when they take the tefillin off, or when they put them on, they kiss that knot because of its sanctity. And we showed actually in the lecture when we was talking about it that the number 4 was connected to 60 as well, and that the knot is a letter Daled, which is the 4th letter, etc. But this is not a relationship between the words, similar words. This is just conceptual relationships that are connected to that. But a bit of revision there. So we've had not a few more examples of this connection between Hebrew and English. Sefer. Sefer means a book or scroll in Hebrew. Sefer Torah is the scroll of the law. It's on one long bit parchment. They sew all these parchments together to write the 5 books of Moses. Sefer has a placement value of 52 PV, and it has a normal value of 340. It's a normal value. Okay, if I add that together, I get 392. If I take scroll, which is what it is, has a placement value of 79, and it has a normal value of 313, which gives me 392. That's a normal value, so that's the total value, and that's the total value. So they have the same total value, right? Scroll and Sefer. I've got just a side one here. Well, it is related. It's related to this as well. So I'm going to wrap this up. But remember the number 79 for scroll, right? I'll remind you later. But what we used to write on a scroll is a pen. So in Hebrew, pen is called an 8. Is an 8. Right, pen. We'll start with pen and put it down. Pen has the large value of 242. That's the large value. And 8 has a placement value. What we're doing? Placement value of 25 at PV. That's 16 and 9 is 25, and it has a normal value of 79. Remember, the scroll was 79, so we have a connection between that's I is 70 and T is 9, 79. We have a connection between the pen and the scroll, and it has a large value. I shouldn't put that there yet. 338 is the large value. So I've used 3 values here: the placement value, the normal value, and the large value. If I add this together, 8 and 9 is 17, plus 5 is 22. 3 and 7 is 10, plus 2 is 12, 13, 14. And we have 242, which is pen in English. Okay. An interesting connection, which I might bring later on in another lecture, connected to relativity. In English, the word line is a normal value of 94. That's 30, 9, 50, and 5 is 94, normal value. Now actually, there is no normal value because, sorry, there is no line. There's no such thing as a line. You can never really know whether something is a line. We can always say that a line is a part of a large circle, an arc of a large circle. Make that circle bigger and bigger and bigger. So we can draw a line to a certain degree of accuracy. A ruler will draw a line. It looks absolutely straight. But again, depends how big your circle is. So we can say that a line is really an arc. So an arc also has the normal value of 94. And it's a topic which I'll bring up in relativity. You've got the idea that light travels in straight lines. We taught this at school in physics, and then you learn that actually light goes around in a curve, and it doesn't travel in straight lines. It's bent in the curvature of space. So the reason why I'm connecting line to arc is because I want to connect the Hebrew word for line, which is kav. The Hebrew word for line is a kav. But it can also mean an arc, as in the account where King Solomon makes what is called the Sea of King Solomon. It's a hemispherical brass bath or sea. It's very big. It's 30 cubits around and 10 cubits across. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. So that makes 30 cubits like 45 feet around, 10 cubits across. It's about 15 feet. So quite big. And when it refers to the circumference, it's called a kav hasoved, the line that goes around. So it's a kav that goes around. The word kav has Gematria of 138 as a large value, and it has a placement value of 25 PD, doing the other way that normally do it. That gives you 163 as the whole value of kav. If you take arc has a large value of 163 large value. So we can see the large value of arc, which is connected to line, is the whole value of kav, which usually translated as a line. So we have another connection there. Now, just a few sort of interesting connections, and then I'm going to discuss a little bit about other languages. I am going a little bit fast today because I want to try and get this a bit shorter than normal. So in Hebrew we have the word chayim, life. So it's spelled chayim, chet, yud, mem, chayim. Now this is a different way of writing a Gematria. I have not done this with you before, but one of the sisters in Hebrew were working at Gematria. Sometimes I've heard it called a complex or complete value. You take the name of the letters. You can't really do this in English because the letters in English don't really have names. They're sort of a sort of a name, but it's not like in Hebrew where chet has got an actual spelled name. That's chet, and yud spelled yud vav daled. We have another one, and we have a mem, spelled mem. And if we work out the placement value of these letters, the taf is 22, that's 10 and 8, 40. Yud will give me 4, 6 and 10 is 20, and this is 13 and 13, which is 26. Add that together, I'll get 106. Okay, that's Chaim, life. We'll get that in a minute. Life, energy. Life energy is 32, placement value, 32, and 74, which is 106. So that's the placement value. So life energy is Chaim, the same as Chaim. If we take life, the other way of spelling life in Hebrew, Chaim is what you say, L'chaim to life, L'chaim to life. It's life, it's a plural word. Another, the singular is chai, and that's often sort of like animals, or chai, or bali chaim, or animals. So chai is the singular word for life, and if I work out the placement value of that, that's 18, that's 10 plus 8, and the large value, which is 39 and 49, will give me 88, that's the large value. Add it together, I get 1606. So chai also is connected to the life energy. Now in Eastern traditions they will call that the chai. China, the chai, I keep doing that, do it the right way. Chai, 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 see the connection? A lot of the ch is a ch. If you say a loch, Loch Ness monster, loch, ch can also have the ch sound. So chai is similar to chai, and chai is the life energy. There's other words for it, like the pranayama, prana energy. So that's life. Next, I have, just one moment. Okay. Right, we have bad. We have bad. 36. Just going to follow 1 second. 22. Ah, I know. So sometimes I can't read my own writing. So the next one is, I think this is the last one. We're going to look at fire and aish. Hebrew for fire is aish. So here's fire and here's aish. And this is a different sort of gematria, but it's interesting. The placement value for fire is 38. The placement value for aish, for fire in Hebrew, is 21 plus 1 is 22. And what's interesting is if you write out 38, and you work out the placement value of 38, and 38 is 149, and if you add 38 to that, so that's the placement value, and you add 38 to that, you'll get 78187. Now I call this the body and soul value. When you take the number and you work out the value of that number and you add that number back onto it, like the body and soul value of it, it's adding itself back on. Age 22, if I write 22, 22 equals 165. Now if I add 22 back onto that, so that's the placement value of 22, I will get 187. So an interesting sort of thing. Body and soul value is BS, I call it, or SB. So if they have the same value if you use this body and soul and body value, and for Asian fire. But there's no direct value connection that I found. I've got another one here. Oh, similar, just one other, which is bad, and the Hebrew for bad would be ra. It's a bit similar to this one. So we have bad, and the large value for bad is 152. And Hebrew for bad is ra, and this one we take the placement value, which is 2036. That's the placement value. And then I'm working out 36, and that's 100, and that's 52, is 152. So the connection between Ra in Hebrew and bad, its meaning, is through the value 36, and that takes me back to bad. So there are connections. You could say, well, you can do that any way you like in this way. Nevertheless, you can do this. I've not found words that you can't connect, and some might be a bit dubious, some are very clear, and showing a very straightforward connection. I can't give you the answer why there's no simple, straightforward system that why not just the placement value and finish, everything should be lovey-dovey. The world doesn't exist like that. Everything's very much more complicated than what things might appear. In fact, they appear complicated as well. Life is complicated, people's personalities are complicated, so there are these different levels. I've been asked about these different levels, different forms of Gematria, whether they correspond to different worlds, that of creation in Kabbalah. I'll talk more about that on another occasion. It is an interesting topic. In my book, The End of Evil, my second book I wrote, I've got an appendix here on about the English language. Why English? So just a few ideas. I tested out a few languages, and the first words I tried were the words power and glory. And again, we can see an internal connection here and external. The internal connection between the language itself and externally between the language and Hebrew. Power, glory, have the placement value of 77, both. And you see power and glory a few times in certainly the book of Psalms. It is kavod va'oz, power and glory. Kavod is glory, and kavod has a placement value of 23, and power is oz, which has a placement value of 23. This has a normal value of 77, which is the same as power in placement value. The large value of power is 439, that's the LV. And the large value of glory is 439, which is LV. So they have the same, in English they have the same placement value and the same large value. This was actually the second time I ever tested out the large value. The first time I was with War and Peace. But with the power, I knew already that they had the same placement value. And when I tested out the large value, I was shocked to see that they also had the same large value. In Hebrew, you only get the connection with the placement value, but you do get this external relationship between the two languages as well. Now, I then tried a few other languages. I tried, tried French. Have a quick look. So in French there are a number of words for power. I'm not one for pronouncing French very well. We've got puissance, force, pouvoir, and then you've got glory, splendor, and none of these relate to each other. You've got in Latin, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words that I found for power, and 3 words for glory, gloria, lus decus, and none of those 3 for glory equaled any of the ones for Latin, using the placement value. Spanish, there was no correlation. Again, there was 5 words for power in Spanish and 1 gloria for glory. German, Macht, Verhigkeit, 2 words for power. I can't pronounce the word for glory, Herrlichkeit. They don't correspond. There's no correspondence. Potenza and Forza Italian, 2 words for glory. You have 2 words for power. You have 2 words for glory. They don't correlate. Hebrew, yes, and not only that. There's another Hebrew word for glory, which is called chedva, which is spelled chet, daled, vav, hey, and it occurs also in the Tanakh. Chedva is also 23. So you get a correlation within the Hebrew, and you get a correlation within the English, but no correlation with French, Latin, Spanish, French, German, or Italian. The only thing is, I didn't, this time when I was doing it, check whether the specific alphabets of German, Italian, Spanish and Latin and French were different to that of English in any way that would make it make these incorrect. So one would have to look at the actual alphabet of the language and see what the order of the letters are there. And then I haven't got that in this book, but when it came to looking into things like the large value, quite a bit more complicated, because then you need to use, to at least test out the actual language's number systems. So whatever the number is, like in French, un, deux, trois, quatre, you would use those words for the numbers to form its own large value system. Like I'm doing in English, I use the English, but I've used that and I've borrowed it into the Hebrew. And so I've also done that with other languages, borrowed the English large values into Hebrew. But that's not self-examining. I'm not examining the language within itself with the numbers of that language. I've not found it work with the Hebrew names of the numbers. They have feminine and plural names for numbers, and I've not seen any correlation by using those names and using the Gematria of those names of the numbers like I use in the large value for English. So there's lots one can do. I've done also here, there's a table here for the word piano. Piano and organ are very similar keyboards. Piano is 55, organ is 55. I've tested it in French, Latin, Spanish, German and Italian again. No correlation at all, and there's also no correlation in Hebrew with that either. And there's plenty of things that you could do with piano and organ also have the same large value, and in Hebrew they don't. So why English is a very interesting question. I believe, as I said before at the beginning, that this is a revelational language. There's something very special about English. Again, I've tested that with the other 5 languages, but if you take in Hebrew, Sfat Ivri, I'll just write this down. Sfat Ivri Sfat Ivri equals 108, and Sfat Ivri means the language of Hebrew language, and then it's also called Lashon HaKodesh, Lashon HaKodesh, simply meaning the holy tongue. Lashon HaKodesh is the holy tongue. Again, the placement value is 108. It won't work in any